This project covers the construction of the Suez Canal and discusses the background of why the canal needed to be constructed, and looks into the costs and benefits associated with the method that was used to obtain the funds to build the canal, as well as the human costs due to forced labor under which the canal was built. The key issues that the canal faced during the construction, such as not having proper tools, as well as the issues that the canal has faced during the years that it has been in operation, are also explained, along with the current status of the canal, and this presentation ends with our group's discussion and criticisms of the key aspects of the canal. The Suez Canal is a sea-level waterway that runs north to south across the Isthmus of Suez and Egypt that was built to connect the Mediterranean Sea with the Red Sea. This canal was constructed to allow a shorter travel time for ships going to the Mediterranean Sea from the Indian Ocean. The canal is 120 miles long, stretching from Port Said in the north in the Mediterranean Sea and Suez in the south. Egypt's Suez Canal Authority owns and maintains the canal, and according to the Convention of Constantinople, the canal may be used in times of war as in times of peace, by every vessel of commerce or of war, without distinction of flag. The Suez Canal is located completely in Egypt, with the nations surrounding the Mediterranean Sea, the countries with coasts along the Red Sea, and countries with coastlines along the Indian Ocean would all benefit from a canal that connected the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. For the economic reasons associated with an open trade route between these two bodies of water, this led to the need for there to be a set of rules as to who can utilize the canal. Before the canal, it is estimated that it would take a modern cargo vessel more than 80 days to travel from St. Helena, an island off the coast of South Africa, to Azores, an island off the coast of Portugal. With the introduction of the canal, however, this same journey takes less than a full day to complete. This reduction in travel time greatly reduces the costs of moving goods by water from South Asian and East African countries to European countries. The Suez Canal is now one of the world's most heavily used shipping lanes, supporting approximately 8% of the world's shipping traffic.
To fund the construction of the Suez Canal, Ferdinand de Lesseps sold shares. Half of the shares were bought by Western Europeans, and the rest were bought by the Egyptian government. In order to fund the purchase of the shares, the Egyptian government had to take a £10 million loan from the European banks. Once the canal was completed, the revenue was supposed to be split, with 15% going to the Egyptian government, 75% going to the Suez Canal Company, and 10% going to the initial investors. This 15% of the Suez Canal revenue was supposed to help Egypt government pay off their loans. However, there was not enough revenue from the canal, and Egypt eventually declared bankruptcy, selling all of their shares to the British government.
Decisions. The decisions of the Suez Canal can be broken down into two key points: the route and the construction. The map here shows the route that the Suez Canal takes across the isthmus. From the map, you can see that the shortest distance between the Mediterranean and the Gulf of Suez, which is part of the Red Sea, would follow a straight line path across the isthmus. Using the scale on the map, the animation demonstrates this fact by comparing the two routes with lines of equivalent length. Taking the orange route would result in a longer distance for excavation. It would also most likely have a less efficient method to allow ships to pass each other and offer less area for docking than the green route. By utilizing the Great Bitter Lakes and Lake Timsah, the green route provides natural area to allow ships to pass each other or dock. This route also greatly reduces the amount of area and distance to be dug out across the desert. The construction of the Suez had two main phases. The first phase consisted of a manual labor workforce of 60,000 men, which was split into two. The idea was to have the two groups working on opposite ends and eventually meet in the middle. Even with this strategy, the initial shape of the canal took a long time to complete, due to the fact that the workforce was very ill-equipped, some using their hands to dig through the sand, and that the labor had to be done in a desert, reducing their efficiency. Thankfully, dredges were purchased by the French government and moving the project into the second phase. This move accelerated the construction time, for the efficiency of these machines did not depend on the environment, and were able to move 6 million cubic feet of sand per month consistently. These dredges completed this project, providing the world with a canal of roughly 21 feet deep and 175 feet wide.
The Suez Canal has been completed since 1869 at a cost of $100 million. It successfully connected the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. It separates the African continent from Asia and provides the shortest maritime route between Europe and the lands around the Indian and Western Pacific Oceans. Since its completion in 1869, it has been enlarged 7 times. The initial cross-section of the canal was 300 square meters. By 2010, the cross-section had increased substantially to 5,200 square meters, allowing a massive increase in total capacity. Since then, the canal has undergone the most significant expansion project in its history. In 2015, the Egyptian government finished an $8.5 billion project to upgrade the canal and significantly increase its capacity. The most important aspect of this project is adding another section which allows for ships to transit the canal in both directions simultaneously, which was previously impossible. It has allowed the canal to increase its daily capacity from 49 to 76 ships, a major improvement. The canal can currently accommodate ships with a draft of 62 feet and a capacity of 210,000 deadweight tons. It can handle more traffic and larger ships than the Panama Canal. In 2008, the canal brought in $5.4 billion, which means that it has already paid for its own renovation of $8.5 billion in 2015, in under 2 years, making the expansion project very successful. The canal currently supports 8% of the world's shipping traffic and is one of the most heavily used shipping lanes. Future expectations include more widening and deepening projects to accommodate for larger and more ships. Egypt claims that in 2023, the canal will provide profits of $13.5 billion a year and have a maximum daily capacity of 97 ships. As long as the canal's management is able to keep up with the growing shipping demands, it is likely to remain one of the world's most prominent and heavily used shipping lanes.
The main issues faced by the Suez Canal today are piracy and the limited number of shipping traffic that can be moved through the canal. There currently is no foreseeable decrease in demand for the need of the canal since it is the shortest route to connect southern Asia and eastern Africa with European countries. The recent wave of piracy acts around the world has generated great concern among shipping lanes and cargo owners. The number of reported attacks near Somalia and in the Gulf of Aden increased more than 1,000% from 2006 and 2008. Somalia pirates operate up to 800 nautical miles from the coast using mother vessels. The security that linked to piracy increased insurance rates for the vessels that want to travel through the region. The pirates target vessels as the target enters the Red Sea to travel north to the canal, or where vessels are leaving the south side of the Red Sea after just navigating through the Suez Canal. They target these areas because the vessels here have expensive payloads and are trapped in a narrow body of water that bottlenecks as it approaches the Red Sea. Since there will be no lack in demand of vessels that want to travel through the Suez Canal, the owners of the Suez Canal should focus on keeping the waters around the Red Sea safe from pirating operations, since if the insurance rates become too high and too many vessels are getting attacked, companies will start sending their vessel around the southern tip of Africa instead of through the canal. Since even though it is a longer, more expensive journey, it is much safer in terms of piracy rates. The Egyptian government provided Ferdinand de Lesseps with the labor to build the Suez Canal. This labor was in the form of slave labor. The slaves were not provided with the proper tools for digging the canal. If the Egyptian government started the construction process with dredging and mechanical innovations, they would have been able to dig the canal for far cheaper and in less time than the project originally took.